There's a word that begins with this letter in the English language that's not really accepted in the adult world. They don't want to do it. They don't want to take part in it. Okay? So, you can't really be laughing. You can't be clicking your heels. You can't be, making fun of things in the middle of a day. Running on the beach, laughing your head off. What in heaven's name is all that, right? So, I'm just an ordinary woman, just an ordinary person. I'm here to tell my story of how an ordinary person can rise above the mundane, above societal expectations, and perhaps achieve dreams that she hadn't ever even had the strength to dream. The relevant part of my life, this is me at 18, yeah, a happy-go-lucky young kid like most kids are, and I think this was taken in Jabalpur. And I was going about my life very happily, eating ice creams and doing whatever it is that 18-year-olds did way back when in Bombay. And suddenly somebody said to me one day, "Hey, do you want to have a cigarette?" And I said, "Sure, why not? It's cool. Let me have a cigarette." And I had that one cigarette. Made me sick in the beginning. How many people here know somebody who smokes? I know nobody here smokes, but how many people here know somebody who smokes? A lot of us do, right? Ask that smoker. Ask that smoker, how did you feel when you had your first puff? I bet you they're going to say that person felt quite sick and nauseated. That's the body rejecting it. But you still go on, okay? Because it's cool, and for a variety of other reasons that we'll look into in a bit. But going forward, from that one cigarette, just every now and then, off and on, it goes on to maybe 1 or 2 a day. And as you grow older, it's 1 or 2 when you go out with friends to the restaurant, on a Friday night. And so at that time, smoking was not politically incorrect. You could smoke in restaurants, you could smoke on airplanes, you could smoke in taxis, you could smoke wherever you wanted. And life went on, and from that 1 or 2, I suddenly found myself having a pack of cigarettes in my handbag. And I got into the corporate world, I was working, I was doing my own thing, and smoking, because cigarettes were my best friend, right? Happy, sad, angry, hungry, hangry, you name it, victorious, defeated, everything. The cigarette was the first thing that I went to when I had any surge of emotion, or even when I was just bored. And I wanted to quit. I really, really wanted to quit. But somehow or the other, I just couldn't. Somehow cigarettes have this habit of getting into your brain, They put their fingers into your brain and grab onto it. And then it's just so difficult to get out of that clutch. And so I would make promises to myself. If I don't smoke all day today, tomorrow I will give myself something really very nice, like maybe an ice cream or something. Only what would happen is, I wouldn't smoke that whole day, and the next day as a reward, I would give myself a cigarette, because I didn't smoke all of yesterday. So I would crush the packet, and not too hard, and throw it in the dustbin, and say, I'm never going to smoke again. And next morning, I'd go back there, rummage, and pick out the cigarettes and smoke them again. So this went on. I wanted to quit, I really did, but I just couldn't. Became an expert at quitting. And then, one day, suddenly somebody said to me, hey, do you want to go for a run? I'm training for Mumbai Marathon. Do you want to come for a run with me? And I said, okay, that sounds like fun. And I've been saying a lot of okay in my life, I guess. So I said, okay, I will come for a run, and I did. I ran 1.5 kilometers. And then I never stopped, because I was so excited that, I felt so strong, so powerful, so empowered, I felt so good. I just didn't want to stop. And I didn't. I ran more and more and more. I ran wherever I could, whenever I could, morning, noon, night, Goa, Delhi, Bombay, wherever I could, I ran. And with all this running, a very interesting thing happened to me. In addition to losing a little bit of weight and all of that, I also one day suddenly found that I did not anymore have the urge to smoke. The urge to smoke suddenly vanished, and one day I just threw the pack away, this time for good. I never looked back. And it was just so unbelievable. I'm married to a smoker, and I just never even looked back. I didn't even feel the temptation anymore. And I was wondering what in heaven's name happened. So I Googled it, I researched it, okay? And if you just Google running and quitting smoking, the answers are all there, okay? It was because, you see, when you first have a puff of cigarette and you have the next one and the next one and the next one, the thing that happens is every time you take a puff of that cigarette, a powerful cocktail of chemicals is released in your brain. This contains serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, so many chemicals, painkillers, so many things are released in your brain every time you have a puff of a cigarette. And that's why you feel calm, you feel, in control, you feel centered. Now here's the kicker. Every time you go for a long run, the same chemicals are released in your brain, but in a much larger quantity. So you'll see that, if people who work out regularly, who exercise regularly, if they don't do it for a few days, they start feeling antsy, they start feeling crabby, because they want that serotonin back in their body. And my body began to understand and internalize that it was receiving the same high, but from a healthier source. And so it didn't need the cigarettes anymore. It was as simple as that. And so, I was just so happy, and I went on running my merry way. This was taken at the 50K Bangalore Ultra race. And it was just so happy. But then one day while I was running, I was thinking about the fact that just 2 days before I'd had this news that I lost 2 people who were really, really dear to me. And I lost them both to lung disease and unhealthy working conditions and excessive smoking. And I thought to myself, I said, why did they go and why did I survive? One of these 2 I've had any number of cigarettes with, okay? And I said, why did they go, why did I live? And then I thought, I don't know, an epiphany, somebody talking to me, I don't know. But I thought to myself, I said, maybe I've been given this chance to live and to run and to, be alive, simply so I can tell people, not that they shouldn't smoke, because I think everybody knows that just too well, including those friends, those people here who have friends that smoke. I think just to tell people that if you want to quit, here is a fun way to do it. It's not easy, but it's fun. It's loads of fun. And so I kicked off this campaign, I conceptualized it, I spoke to my coach and he said, yes, it can be done. And I ran 1 marathon every month. Nowadays you hear of an 8K marathon and a 10K marathon, but a marathon by definition is 42.2 kilometers. And I ran that distance for around 12 months. I think I ran 1 marathon every month in different states of the country to publicize this message that quitting smoking can be fun if you start to run. And the idea was that if people would see me, a typical Indian woman, overweight, middle-aged, all these things, in love as much with as the next guy with aloo parathas and, pizza and burger and chocolate. If I can do it, anybody can. So I covered around 14 states of India running, the marathon distance, and the campaign is still underway. I've had to take a break for a variety of reasons, but yeah, so this is about the campaign. I've run in so many different places, and it's been a difficult journey because, every time I've had to call up people and tell them that, can you please tell me, help me with giving me a place to stay or a car or something, give me some help, and people whom I've never known. But I had a lot of confidence that came to me simply because I was, running, because I was a runner, because I had faith in my body, because I could. And yeah, so this is about my campaign. And after all this effort, one person one day sent me an email. One lady sent me an email from Bhopal. And she said, ma'am, after you came and you went, I heard your story. We never met, but I was in the audience when you spoke at one of the colleges. And since that time, I haven't smoked, and now it's been a whole year, and I thought I would share that with you. So I was just so happy and touched to see that. And that I made a difference in one person's life at least. And cancer is not a poor person's illness. It's a very expensive illness. So I was so happy to have made that difference in that one life. Another thing I do is that along the way I met this bunch of kids that was, had a huge amount of potential as athletes, okay? But there was nobody to give them guidance or anything. And being an endurance athlete myself, I run and cycle and swim long distance. So I thought I would become their sports coach. And these are my kids. I coach them. And yes, they come from underprivileged backgrounds. And but that's not who they are. They are far more than that. And in fact, one story I'd like to share is that when you talk about making a difference, one story I'd like to share is that when I first met these kids, I asked one of the kids, I said, I asked them all. I said, here are my ambitions. I want to, do this, I want to do that, I want to do triathlon. I want to climb Mount Everest before I'm 60. I want to start my own sports school. There's so many things I want to do. What about you guys? What do you want to do? And this one kid said, he said, teacher, I want to be a don. मैं भाई बनना चाहता हूँ. And I said, why? So, you have to understand they live in extremely deprived conditions, but that's not what this is about. So it makes a difference, right? The bhai has the money, he has the girl, he has the bike, he has everything, right? So he says, teacher, मैं भाई बनना चाहता हूँ. I said, अच्छा ठीक है, पहले आके भाग तो ले, come and run with me. He says, teacher, I'll be faster than you. I said, no, you won't. He said, yes, I will. And of course he was, but that isn't the point. The first time he ran with me, and then he overtook me and zoomed off, and he's probably become one of the most diligent students that I have, that never misses a single training session, comes up every time, even if I call him at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, if he's not had food to eat, anything. And after one such session, when they were like, it was a hot summer's afternoon, and after training we were eating pineapples, and a lot of them were eating them for the first time, and this was such a juicy fruit, and I was just eating it, and I was literally licking my fingers and saying, my goodness, this pineapple is delicious. And this same boy that wanted to be the Don, he says, teacher, when I go to the Olympics wearing the India jacket, that day I will buy you a truck full of pineapples. It was a very meaningful moment for me, because I felt in some small way I'd made a difference in somebody's life. I don't know whether he's actually going to go to the Olympics or not. I hope as hell he's going to, but I don't know whether he will or not. And I don't know whether he'll buy me that truck of pineapples or not, but I do know that for some time I changed his focus and showed him something the way he could be more than, a bhai or a don. So, yeah, so what basically am I saying really? All I'm saying is, follow your heart. If there's something that you like, something that seems nice to you, go ahead and do more of it. But, obviously I'm not talking about, drinking or smoking or things like that, because please don't do more of that. But don't be afraid to follow your heart and see how, following your heart can translate into doing something for somebody else, because that can be actually the greatest joy of all. Don't be afraid to fail, okay? Don't be afraid to fail, because if you fail, then that means that you're trying. If you don't fail at all, then, you're not even moving, okay? So it's quite all right to fail. Like they say in the Rocky movie, it's not about how many times you get hit, knocked down, it's how many times you get up after being knocked down, right? There will always be people who will tell you it can't be done. There will always be people, and people told me also, look at you, so fat, so overweight, so middle-aged, this, that, what are you going to run one marathon every month? You can't do it, sit at home. I said, no, I will do it, and I did it. I said, run slowly, some marathons I've taken 7.5 hours, but I did it. I created that hype, I created that message, I did it, okay? So, money isn't the only thing. It may sound a little entitled, it may sound like, yeah, okay, you have enough food in your belly and you're comfortably off, and so you can say this. But the amount of joy that you can get from doing something for somebody else, I swear to you, you can't get it from earning as much. I don't even know what number to put there, as much as you can imagine. I can't think that the two of them are even in any way sort of measurable together on the same scale. Give a little, live a little, give something back. It's just, again, probably one of the most beautiful feelings in the world. And no matter how stressed I am, I get up at 4:30 in the morning, I do my own workout, I go to office, I come back, and then I go to meet my kids and we train together. And I think that those 2 hours when I'm with my kids is probably the best time of my day, knowing that I'm making a little bit of a difference in somebody's life and adding a little bit of the outdoors into, their day-to-day routine and being. So don't forget to have fun, follow your heart, and let's take a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.